Hi, this is Fernando. I wanted to talk a little bit about passwords. So this is my security tip for today. Basically, it has to do with passwords. Passwords needs to be changed. The underlying reason to have a password is to protect yourself by preventing other people that are not authorized to use your programs or your computer. So you have to keep that in mind. That's the underlying reason why passwords exist. So if you want that to be effective, you have to be able to support that idea. And what I see over and over is people try to circumvent passwords using passwords and making it making the passwords easy to remember, or simple passwords, not changing passwords, sharing passwords. All of these things that are done to avoid the passwords are counterproductive, because the reason passwords are in place is a basic security measure to protect yourself. So keep that in mind next time you think about sharing a password or making a simple password, or next time you complain that, oh, I'm changing passwords again, or why does this have to be so complicated? It's all for your own protection. Convenience and security do not go hand in hand. The goal is to try to make it as convenient as possible, but security is the end result. And of course, you want to make it as easy as possible, but without neglecting your security. So, having said that, passwords, a good practice is to change passwords often, every 30 days, every 60 days. As long as you have a policy in place to do this password change, it's very important to do. And if you're a business owner, this is something that is on your hands to make sure that it happens. Don't leave it up to the users to change passwords or think that they're going to change passwords every so often. This is a policy, an IT policy that has to be put in place and enforced. And the other thing about password is to enforce a complex password, not just any type of password should be allowed. You want to make the passwords complex, meaning that you shouldn't just enter a name or a birthday or something like that. And like I said, this is the easiest thing to do because it's easy to remember. But again, it defeats the purpose of having a secure password. So password complexity systems are set up to restrict passwords to being complex, and so that's sometimes they're not by default set up that way, and that has to be enabled as a policy on the IT side. So these are the kinds of things you want to discuss with your IT provider. Make sure that that's in place. You'll notice it if you don't. Just ask those types of questions. So how do users remember all these passwords, right? Because the recommendation is not to use the same passwords for all your systems. Don't use the same password for all your websites, for your social media, for your banks, for your accounts. It's not recommended to use the same passwords. Any website or service can be hacked, and then if that happens, then your credentials, your passwords, or login account from one website can be used on another website by the hackers. So it's not recommended to have the same login accounts for multiple sites and services. So that makes it more difficult to remember all of these passwords. You have to have a complex password. We have to change it every couple of days, every couple of days. And how do you remember all of these? Well, from the user's point, there are some utilities, some apps that you can use to manage passwords. So that's one way that you can help suggest users to remember their passwords that way. So they use these password utilities. From the corporate side, you can implement policies. Something called single sign-on is very convenient, and that's a service that's available that basically, as the name implies, is single sign-on. You sign on once, and then you're able to log in to multiple systems, multiple services with this single sign-on service. So it's a service that has to be set up, and it definitely is better for on the corporate side to manage passwords when users leave the the company, or for for whatever reason you want to disable access to certain applications, with a single sign-on service in place, it's easy to do because you have it more centralized in one place, all the login accounts and access controls. So that's my tip for now. I mean, this is a big topic to discuss. So I just want to raise awareness that it's on your hands to use passwords the right way, and don't try to avoid them. That's all for now. Thanks.